going to quickly walk through how to use the GoToWebinar technology. You should see a control panel on your screen right now. If you don't, it may be because it's been minimized, and you can pull it back out by going to the Grab tab, which hides and shows the control panel. There's also an attendee list where you can see all of the participants on the call. If you have a question at any point, you can raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon on the control panel, and we can unmute your line. So if everyone could just raise their hand so we can see that everyone knows where the hand icon is. Okay. Great. Thank you. Another way that you can participate or ask questions is through the question pane, which is D on our slide here. You can type your question into the question pane, and I can respond and I can answer privately if need be. All of the panes on the control panel can be minimized or expanded by clicking on the plus or minus sign in the top left corner of the box. And just a heads up, in the past sometimes people have had audio trouble. If for some reason you're having difficulty being heard, you'll want to make sure that you've not muted yourself or that you've entered the audio pin given to you upon entering the webinar. If you're still having issues, you can always exit the webinar and re-enter using your registration link. All right, and we'll get started.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the January Leader College webinar. This is Carrie Henderson. I'm the Associate Director of Programs for Leader Colleges at Achieving the Dream. And we're very excited to share with you a Gestalt approach to Latino retention and academic success. And we actually have two individuals from Northern Essex Community College on the line to talk through their approach and share lessons learned. So before we get to our panelists, I'd like to introduce Achieving the Dream staff that we have in the room. Obviously, there's me. I'm Carrie Henderson. Melanie Mulvey, our Assistant Director of Programs, you've already heard from. And we have Tran Lee, who is a Policy and Programs intern here at Achieving the Dream. We're very excited to have her. She's a former community college student and is now a transfer student at California State University at Fullerton. And so we're very excited to have her join Achieving the Dream this semester. So our agenda for the day, we're going to overview some Achieving the Dream business, talk about leading by example, and take a look at what some of our leader colleges are doing that's innovative and a great approach to higher ed. We're going to have our presentation by Northern Essex Community College looking at Latino retention and student success. We'll have time for a question and answer and a discussion where you will have the opportunity to ask questions of the panelists. And then we'll tell you about our next Leader College webinar, which is coming up in March. In terms of Achieving the Dream business, we are very excited to announce that Dream will be next month in Baltimore, Maryland. We're getting started on February 17th, and we'll go through February 20th. We hope you are already registered to attend, and you can still attend if you haven't registered yet. We'll have a link to the website that has a list of pre-institute workshops as well as a full agenda. So we have over 100 sessions throughout the 4-day conference, and we really, really look forward to seeing you there. As you know, Achieving the Dream has a new technology webinar series. These webinars happen throughout the year and are a time for you to discuss with your peers the experiences of implementing particular technology solutions on your campus. Our next webinar will take place on Thursday, January 29th at 12:30 to 1:15 Eastern Standard Time. The topic for this webinar is the InSpark Science Network. And the InSpark Science Network is a bold partnership among Smart Sparrow, which is an education technology provider, Arizona State University, and Achieving the Dream is a founding partner, and we are working with community colleges all across the country to bring smart science courses into your classrooms. And so we definitely encourage science faculty and deans to attend, but we think anybody would benefit from this great topic. And we'll have a link for registration available. The last piece of business that I'll mention is that it's about that time of year for leader colleges to recertify. As you know, leader colleges, after undergoing the initial certification process, we ask that you recertify every 3 years. And so the leader college application will be released in the next coming weeks, and we will have a webinar likely in March to go over the components of the application, and we're looking at a late spring and early summer deadline for that. And if you have any questions about leader college recertification, feel free to contact me directly. In terms of leading by example, I'm sure a lot of you have seen by now the information coming out of the White House College Opportunity Day of Action. In December, the President and First Lady hosted this Day of Action, and the goal of it was to announce efforts to help more students prepare for and eventually graduate from college. And we're all very familiar with the notion that a college degree is one of the surest paths to the middle class in America and is an engine for economic and social mobility. Since the first White House College Opportunity Summit, more than 30 Achieving the Dream colleges have made commitments to expand college opportunity by strengthening college readiness. And we have, I think, a total of more than 600 institutions nationwide who have made these commitments. And we're particularly excited to recommend so many leader colleges for having committed to this. And if you follow the link, you'll have the opportunity to see the specific commitments as it relates to expanding college opportunity. So with that, I am going to turn it over to our presenters for the day from Northern Essex Community College. We have Dr. Dawna Perez, who is Dean of Student Success, and Joshua Abreu, who is a retention specialist for the Student Success Center. And they're going to walk you through a Gestalt approach to Latino retention and student success. And we're very excited to have them. So with that, I will turn it over to our presenters.
Wonderful. Good afternoon, and thank you for this opportunity for us to share with all of you what we've been doing at Northern Essex. If you'd like to know just a little bit briefly about us, I've been at Northern Essex for 8 years. I've recently moved into the position of Dean of Student Success, which is really a crossover role bridging between student services and academic affairs.
Good afternoon. My name is Joshua Abreu. I was hired three and a half years ago to help start up the Student Success Center, which is funded partially by the Title V grant. And we've been at it for three and a half years now, and obviously throughout the next hour or so, we're going to just get into details about that.
Or 22 minutes, as it were. So we're going to cover the 3 points of intervention that we look at here. It's really a multi-pronged approach that we use. And it's an overall effort to shift the culture of our institution toward one of even greater inclusion through organic, but also through very structured mutual learning opportunities. We acknowledge that our students have a great deal to teach us, our staff, and our faculty through their own rich cultural backgrounds and experiences. So we look at the student level, and then we'll move into programmatic, and then institutional, which is really driving the overall culture and setting policy. Next slide. So a quick look at our college. We're in Massachusetts. There's 2 campuses, a Haverhill and a Lawrence campus. They're 12 miles apart, and many of our students attend classes on both campuses. So Haverhill is our more kind of rolling hills campus-looking, college campus-looking atmosphere there, and Lawrence is our urban center. We are both based in Lawrence, so our work and our students cross both campuses. You can see the statistics there in terms of what our headcount is and our FTE, the proportion of our full-time to part-time, male to female. It's pretty typical of community colleges, I think, and our headcount in FTE is down, which I also understand is quite a trend going on across the country as well. So we have lost some enrollment and have been struggling somewhat with that. What's really interesting is that even though, well, over the past 10 years we've had an increase, we were still about 12.5% above where we were 10 years ago. But even as enrollment has shrunk more recently, our Latino population has grown at the college. And Lawrence is our biggest feeder city at this point. So we have about 60% on the Lawrence campus who are Latino students. College-wide, we're at about 37%. We were the first Hispanic serving institution in New England back in 2001, and we acquired that status based on our Lawrence campus and applied for and received a Title V grant at that point in time to create a one-stop student services center. So we were one of the early adopters of that concept, where a student doesn't have to go building to building, office to office to get their business done at the college. They would go to our advising center, and that's where they would not only see an academic advisor, but also a financial aid specialist and someone who could work with them on career planning. We have one of those on each of our campuses, but Title V was what began that, and then it started in Lawrence, and then one was built in Haverhill. In 2011, we received our second Title V grant, and with that grant, we opened up our Student Success Center on the Lawrence campus. So it's not a lot of staff, but certainly we see a whole lot of students there. We're based in Lawrence. There's the director of the Title V grant, but there's a full-time coordinator. Josh was our retention specialist, and then we have someone who's part-time career coach and social service referral, or overall student success, really, because we all sort of do everything. And then we've worked also to leverage other funding to help grow and integrate the work that we're doing. So through Achieving the Dream and the Walmart Press for Completion grant, we were able to get some work done in terms of collaborating with faculty in our college success seminar to start an early alert process here. Also, we received state funding, performance incentive fund money to, again, grow that and to work with faculty. We've done a lot around trying to bridge our student affairs with our academic affairs and bring faculty sort of into the student service area to see the work that we do there, as well as many of our staff members are also adjuncts, so they are in the classroom and know what faculty are facing there. Next slide. So how do we look at Latino retention and success? Really, it's a balance of quantitative and qualitative, and many times it's the qualitative, the knowing of our students, that can inform the academic and non-academic strategies and interventions that we use for continuous improvement to those. Many times we look to the success stories of our students and learn what's working, what supports do those students have, and how can we build those supports for other students who don't come with them or have maybe the family network that some of our successful students have. Many of them build their networks here on campus. We also put those successful students in front of new students to help give them advice, show them how they can also make it, so they're role models and informal sort of peer mentors, although we're working on a more formalized structure, I think, for that too. Then, of course, there are the more structured course level and program level assessments that we do that help determine what and how our students are learning. But we track our KPIs, our key performance indicators of retention, GPA, course completion rates, college-wide, as well as disaggregating for age, for ethnicity, and for various groups that we target in the college for those interventions. But really the bottom line is truly knowing our students, knowing who they are, where they've come from, what their stories are. Many times it's not the academic challenges that trip them up, it's other challenges that Joshua will address shortly. Next slide. So Joshua, you want to take over Lawrence?
I do want to take over Lawrence. All right, so Lawrence, it's a industrial city created during the Industrial Revolution up the river from Lowell, Mass, which is well known as Industrial Revolution. So Lawrence, like where a lot of community college reside, it struggles with poverty. It's over 80,000 residents squeezed into 7 square miles, so it's very condensed. Poorest city in the state, 15% unemployment rate. That's over the double average. As you can see in the slide, 30% live under the poverty line, and 3 of the 4 children are at risk of hunger. Next slide, please. Community colleges all around the country, especially here at NECC, first-generation students, multicultural population. We have a large ESL program. I believe it's about 6-7% of the school. Low income, as you can see from not only Lawrence, but Abreu is also an industrial city. Adult learners, as many of you know, people that leave school and come back later, either as working parents or which is older adults who haven't been in the classroom in a while, working parents, and physically and disabled, and developmental disabled students. So as you can see in my scientific formula, obviously when we have poverty and the financial burdens plus the life expectations of kind of having a job, a stable job, having a car, transportation, reliable transportation, babysitter, all these expectations, when you struggle with financial issues, obviously it can really bring you down, really bring down your hope, as you can see in my little formula there. However, as you know, I know it was kind of a negative tone in the last two slides, given the fact it was like deficit-based. But at the same time, we do know that these students are productive. That even though they live in a city that's the poorest, that they are trying to look for to better themselves. We also see, I mean, the whole city was created by immigrants. So we see a lot of first, second generation students who just want a chance to kind of move ahead through the education system and eventually find a stable job. So one thing that we've been focusing on at the Student Success Center is taking that positivity out of some difficult life situations. So obviously you add education to the resilience and the grit that they already have, all of a sudden that there's hope. As you can see, the little guy climbing the ladder, you know, it symbolizes the hope that many of our students feel when they step into our classrooms and into our spaces. Next slide, please. And one way that we kind of move forward with the kind of like the philosophy from the foundation of the program was to, you know, be honest with ourselves and pretty much have conversation with students that prepare them to confront the condition of their everyday life. You know, they know that they're struggling to kind of move ahead. They know that the high dropout rates at the local high school. They not only do they know, they experience this themselves. We engage them by talking about these things at the center and having a real conversation about resolving real issues that they have, and not just talking about tomorrow or the next year about transferring, but really talking about, you know, what can we do to help you today. Also, with those conversations, we get into the academic literacy that, you know, that make college attendance a realistic option. You know, are we speaking about your culture? Are we speaking about your family situation, or your interests? I mean, it doesn't even have to be so deep. It could just be, you know, career interests. Do you have that connection to speak to somebody about those things? Obviously, the more connections you have in school, the more likely you are to keep showing up. Next slide, please. And two things that we saw was that really worked, and I think it comes out naturally when you kind of focus on strength and positivity, is the resilience and validation. Resilience comes, you know, there's some research out there talking about grit, resilience. I got this from Eric Morales, who's New Jersey City University in New Jersey. It promotes an approach to student potential by focusing on the proven success despite the multiple risk factors, right? So by the time our students walk into our doors, I mean, we know that they've been successful. They've avoided dropping out. They've avoided working full-time, knowing that their parents probably needed their financial support, but knowing that in the long term, education was probably the best route. So how do we kind of take that out of them? One way to take it out of them is to validate their experience. You know, validation coming from Dr. Laura Rendon, it enables and confirm the process of the students' social cultural traits. You know, are we speaking to the students as them in the center of this whole experience? Are we going to have conversations that they feel are comfortable enough that doesn't have to be about classroom stuff, but about deeper issues that might be getting in the way of them being successful? As we know, and you could go to the next slide. As we know, there's a lot of, you know, it's a lot of issues that we all face, and the difference between, a lot of times, the difference between the people that make it and don't make it tends to be, are you able to tap into that resilience cycle? Are you able to tap into your protective factors, the people that are there to help you? As you can see in this diagram, the first step is right on the top, needs. The student comes to us and we try to assess their needs. And then we can get into details later about that. But then you get into protective factors. Is the need, is the tutoring the need? Is it social services? Is it homelessness? What's the actual problem? And how can we identify the protective factor to actually, resolve those issues and keep you in school, retain you? And then you're working them, right? You're actually using those protective factors. You go into tutoring twice a week, and then we're going to measure the effectiveness. And we're going to, when I see my students walking around the hall, when they come visit me, we're talking about the protective factors that we used and how effective they were, right? And what Eric Morales shows is that when you realize the protective factors that you use and that they were either effective or not effective, that's what endorses motivation. You're more likely to follow up to math tutoring if you acknowledge that it helped you pass your first test. You're more likely to follow up the second time around. The next slide. And this is the more tangible, more specific resilience cycle, right? So they walk in through referrals, through early alert, which we'll talk about later, starfish, different instructors and professors bring their classes down to the Student Success Center. So there's different ways to run into students. We do an intake, determine the needs. We connect them with resources. Sometimes the resources just come into a center and just talking to somebody or using our laptops to do homework. And then we follow up with students and explore the effectiveness of the intervention. Did it actually work? And then, we take it from there. And then we close the loop with the instructor and debrief with students about the intervention and potential barriers. And then as you can see the arrow going back up, needs, different times of year, you have different needs, things come up. So we see our students tapping into these resources multiple times for different reasons. And then, so going back to how do we actually run into, assess these students, Dawna could talk about the different programs and the different software that we're using to kind of identify students, use those assessments as the tools to start positive, strength-based conversations.
So here are some of the tools that we do use, or some of the programs that we've got in place. And I also wanted to just talk just a second about the structure of the Student Success Center. So we've got really only 2.5 full-time people there, right? But we also have student assistants that we hire. So they're being paid at a higher rate than work study would give them. And they're typically students who have made it through successfully or are doing very well in school and who are reliable. We have them interview and everything. But they do more than help us with administrative tasks or reach out to students. They attract students to the center. Just having Joshua in the center is a magnet for, young Latino males, which is a terrific thing. And a lot of them also stroll in because of the, cute girls they see there.
Yeah,
and whatever gets them there, as well as snacks. We've always got snacks at the ready. And also we utilize faculty that the students see in their classroom, in their college success course, and they see them at the center as well. So there's a lot of connections in seeing people over and over. So we, with Title V, we were able to buy Noah Levitt's college student inventory codes, and we used those for the first couple of years for determining students to self-determine how they were coming in, their attitudes about college, their past experiences, where they saw the needs would come, the help that they might need, how open they were to different kinds of help. And in conjunction with that, now we've also used Starfish Retention Solutions Early Alert. And that's another helpful way for faculty to let us know if a student's academically struggling. The students can also sort of flag themselves for help, whether they're needing actual academic coursework help or they're just feeling overwhelmed and need balance and need to talk to somebody to figure out how to juggle everything that's going on in their lives. We do ESL STEM Exploration, which is taking college-level faculty who are teaching STEM courses and doing an evening usually based activity where there are sort of little mini courses, and all the ESL students go through those and sample different kinds of classes and what it would be like to be in a chemistry class, a physics class, a different math class. They make them very interactive and interesting. Summer Bridge program takes our local high school, Lawrence High School graduates who have committed to coming to this school for a 2-week program where they do math and English and learn about all the resources at the college. We have different speakers come in and panels come in. We also have an author. They have a book that they read during that English section, and then the author of the book comes and visits with them and does a workshop with them, and then goes out and has lunch with them at the local restaurant. So that's been a super great draw, and we've gotten students who assessed at the beginning and then 2 weeks later and have actually skipped levels up just based on that. So we'd like to be able to expand that in the future. And then in the classroom, reading apprenticeship is something that we are trying to have grow and grow. Right now it's offered in all College Success Seminar classes as well as a large number of the gateway courses across all disciplines. And what people are finding is that with some of those strategies that reading apprenticeship offers, those students are owning that knowledge more. They're comprehending what they're reading. They're relating themselves to the reading, and it's making them just much stronger students in general. They're handing in papers more frequently because they're understanding what they need to do and have an opinion about what they're reading. So that's been great. We also have cultural enrichment programs and lecture series that are open to the community, sometimes held at the local high school and as well as held on campus, and writing workshops. And I know Joshua will say a little bit more about some of the writing workshops coming up. So the next slide, please. College-wide academic initiatives really speaks to collaboration and things that we're doing that involve always like both sides of the house, which now at our college actually are united under one vice president, which wasn't the case in the past. But especially for Title V and the Student Success Center work with Latino students, we partnered with the College Success Seminar first-year experience course, which we are hoping to scale up college-wide as a graduation requirement. But for now, it was students that assessed into 2 or more developmental level courses. But it's a full-fledged 3-credit course, college level, and the Success Center has partnered with that faculty to go into the classroom, make presentations. A lot of the faculty bring their students out to the center, and it's a really wonderful give and take there.
And as you can see from the previous slide, Noah Levitz, the Early Alert, the Reader Apprenticeship, College Success Seminar is where that kind of started, and which allows us, our connections or collaboration allows us to get instructors who are providing the strength-based pedagogy in the classroom, which and then spills over into the Student Success Center. So the program is playing out in the classroom as well as at the center.
You can move ahead. Yeah. So we've already touched upon some of that. So coming up, how we hope to scale up a lot of these initiatives. So we talked a little bit about CSS, hoping that becomes a graduation requirement, but also looking at scaling Starfish to all students, and even more so keying in on our Latino students, but students of all diverse cultures and backgrounds is our Global Scholars Program, using a one book, one geographic region focus, so that college-wide faculty, staff, and students are all becoming much more sort of globally aware, and with that having much more sense of cultural awareness and inclusion. Next slide.
So part of the larger goals, this committee was created, the Cultural and Equity Committee, and what we came up with was a 3-pronged approach: professional development, student engagement success, and hiring and recruitment. For professional development, we partner up with Breadloaf. Breadloaf, and everybody is aware of the Breadloaf School of English and Middlebury College. This is an offset of that same program at Phillips Academy. And what they specialize in is urban literacy. And they're scattered throughout the city doing workshops with students, anything from kindergarten, first grade, all the way through high school. The one thing that they were missing, though, was the higher ed component. So what we were able to do was create these 2-hour workshops for 4 different sections where faculty and staff are coming to the Bread Loaf, connected with the Bread Loaf Network, the teachers, the instructors, the executive director of the program, and we're just creating a dialogue about being culturally sustaining, about being student-centered. How do you engage students by speaking, by allowing them to speak about their own culture, about their own experience, and how you create a dialogue when they're the ones that are speaking about, you know, their own lives. So we've been, it starts in a couple of weeks, our second session. We've been able to recruit 10 English instructors. We're paying them, so it's a lot easier when you pay them, obviously. But they're coming, they're on board, and it'll be great to see the outcome and how they spill over into the classroom, how they change their syllabus around. In order to help with that part, we also created a LIB guide, which reflects the influx of the new student body, and it helps the philosophy of Bread Loaf come alive, obviously, with the books and poets, documentaries, films that kind of reflect our current student body. On the hiring recruitment side, we definitely need more diversity, not only in an Hispanic thing, but an age thing, urban thing, you know, just faculty from different places. I know this is probably a nationwide issue, but we started by having a networking event. We invited deans and directors from the school and from the college, and invited professionals from Lawrence and from the neighborhood. And we have this brand new building with a rooftop, and it sold itself because people wanted to check it out. And it allowed people that are interested, professionals who are interested in working at the community college, to actually engage with the vice presidents and with other deans, assistant deans, and directors who overlook the hiring. So it allowed them to kind of bridge the gap between, you know, the community and the college, and getting professionals through the door who are young, motivated. So we might be doing that again. On the student engagement side, we're working on putting up murals. We're changing the campus around. So part of it is we got to beautify it. You know, there's a lot of empty walls. So one thing that we're working on is with the art department on getting student artwork up and plaster all through the school, either photography, either the murals, the painters. So we're working on that. It's going to be showcased throughout the school. Voting will take place. And then hopefully by the summer, it's going to be plastered up to the wall. So yeah, it's exciting work. And as you can see throughout the whole presentation, the idea is to come at this from different angles. That's it from our side, I think.
Yeah, I know we've come to pretty much close to the end of what we're able to talk about, but we did have 2 interactive scenarios when we had presented at DREAM last year. So these could be more sort of rhetorical for you to think about, and we put the lens of all the work we do in front of our reaction and how we handle these situations. So you can look at these 2 scenarios and think about what would happen on your campus if this were to happen. This one, they're both sort of exemplary of things that happen. The first one was something that that actually occurred, and for a student to feel empowered about reacting to that and how staff might guide them to do that is really the key to that one.
Self-advocacy.
Yeah, self-advocacy. You can come up in the Q&A parts if you've got questions about what we actually did or how you might handle it. Other than that, we're complete and ready to move on to the Q&A.
Great. Thank you so much, Dawna and Joshua. So for the folks out there, we are to the question and discussion portion of our webinar. And so if you have a question, feel free to type it into the pane. And while we're waiting on questions, we've already had one for Dawna and Joshua. So the question is, how has technology helped your college implement these college-wide academic initiatives?
Right. So college-wide, I mean, Blackboard we use college-wide. Starfish and the Noah Levitts, we weren't doing college-wide per se, but really as part of the cohort that we are working with, and Latino students out of the Success Center for sure. What it helped us to do is to make the work much more efficient so that more face time with students could happen, because that personal engagement is the most important part for students. That's what they really need. And when we were bogged down trying to do too many things manually with paper or reports coming in from faculty members, it stole a lot of time away face-to-face with students.
Right. And so we do have a follow-up question to that response. Can one of you talk a little bit more about Starfish Early Success and how it works and where a college might go to get that program?
Sure. There are quite a few retention solutions out there, and we shopped around and ended up settling on Starfish because of its user-friendliness and really amazing responsive staff that they've got there. And what it entails is capturing information from your student information system or your LMS, your learning management system, or both. It can pull information from various programs that you may have functioning at your college. So we're a banner school, so we've dumped all of our faculty, all of our students into Starfish. But right now we're only working with a limited number of cohorts at the college, and so the relationships are established through the technology. So faculty are able to, at different points in the semester, we issue a progress survey a couple of times a semester, but the beauty of Starfish is that it's open all the time, 24 hours a day, every day of the week. So when we do progress surveys, faculty are asked to go in and look at the students that are on their roster and quickly send them a kudos, a pat on the back for doing a great job or showing great improvement, or give them a little nudge by indicating a flag. And the system will immediately send an email out to the student regarding what the concern was. And we've got simple ones like attendance concern, later missing assignments, or low quiz or test scores. We keep it academic because we've got other processes for behavioral stuff. And so a faculty member would flag a student, and they could write a personal comment in. It would go into the template. The student receives it, as well as staff on the other side that are connected to the student. So we would see also the flags that come through. But the student receives the email, and if they hit reply, it will reply back to the instructor. And basically it's that connection with the instructor to help remedy whatever is going on, for them to give an explanation as to why they were absent, or it just gives them an extra nudge. From our end, on the receiving end of seeing all of the flags, if we find a student has gotten 2 or 3 different flags from instructors, we know that that student's got more than just one issue going on, and there's going to be something underlying all of this. So that's when we'll reach out, bring them in, and work with them to find out what really is going on, and then attach them to whatever resources or help they need. And the beauty of the technology is that you can close the loop with the instructor right there. You can clear a flag. You can send a note to an instructor. So it's much more transparent than a homegrown system we used to use that really didn't have that kind of loop ability to follow up and close that loop with instructors. So there's much more transparency, much more communication happening, and the student gets notified immediately if there's a pat on the back or a little nudge that something's not quite right. And they're starfishretentionsolutions.com. You could research them there. They tend to be at a lot of different conferences as well, showing their system. But we're only one semester in, actually, and this will be our 2nd semester now, and we're hoping to scale up to all students next fall. But we've been really happy with it. Just the typical, you have to manage expectations of faculty, a lot of training going on. But we tell the faculty, if you can shop online, you can use Starfish. It is that simple, and it's quick. Faculty don't want, and we're relieving burden from them. We're making sure it's not extra work for you. It's also not required. We have unions at our school, and so we didn't want to try to make it a requirement for them. But yet, first time out, we had over, out of our 107 full-time, and we have, let's see, close to 450 or so adjuncts. I think there were 180 people that were involved in Starfish for first time out, so that was pretty good.
Great. And just so folks know who are on the call, Starfish is a sponsor at DREAM this year. They will have a booth in our exhibit hall, and they are also hosting a Birds of a Feather session. So if you are interested, you can find out more information. All right, we have time for one more question. So Dawna and Joshua, have you used disaggregated data from the NECC, the Community College Survey on Student Engagement, to identify engagement issues with Latino students?
I would say we have not utilized the data from NECC in that disaggregated a form to be able to figure it. We know what the engagement issues are in general with our students, but the sampling is done in such a way that it's probably not fully representative, obviously, of all students. So we try to get that information through evaluations with every intervention that we do with them. When they visit the center, when they go to tutoring, when they're with an advisor, we try to get evaluations directly from the students at that time. So pulling together that data is important. You know, we've been directed by our president that if we're going to continue to do CESI, we better use that data in a more effective way. So we do know we need to focus on that much, much more, and we will be in the future.
Excellent. Thank you. Unfortunately, that concludes the time we have set aside for question and answer, but I'm sure both Dawna and Joshua would be happy to answer any questions. We've provided their contact information, both emails and phone numbers here for you. So with that, thank you to the both of you for sharing more information about your college and your multi-level approaches to Latino retention and success. And so we look forward to hopefully seeing you at DREAM and learning more about how this program is working.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And so in terms of next steps, our next webinar for Leader Colleges is Thursday, March 12th, 2015. It'll take place at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The purpose of this webinar will be to look at how community colleges can build corporate partnerships. And so we'll have Ken Westery, who is Vice President of Institutional Advancement at the Community College of Baltimore County, and he will be joined by a CCBC trustee, Sheldon Kaplis, who is Director of Community Relations for One Main Financial. So we certainly encourage you to attend and hope to see you there. And with that, we're going to take a quick poll to get a sense of your satisfaction with this webinar.
Okay, everyone. So on your screen, you should see a poll asking you to please select all of the statements with which you agree. So if you could please select, you can choose multiple answers. This call was useful and informative. I enjoyed the webinar format. This webinar gave me new ideas that we could implement. There was enough time for questions and discussion, and/or this call did not meet my expectations. So we'll just give another minute to let everyone respond. I see 53% have voted already. Okay, almost. Okay, all right, we'll close the polls now. Okay, great. And so see the results on your screen, and it looks like everyone seemed to enjoy the webinar, so we're glad to hear that. Thank you so much for providing feedback.
All right, thank you again to Dawna and Joshua from Northern Essex Community College. We really enjoyed your presentation today. And thank you to everyone in the audience for joining us. We look forward to seeing you again in March, and we hope to see you next month at DREAM. Have a great day.